Okay, welcome to part two. Last time we set up our deformation bones and we got our tail skinned onto the rig so that our deformation bones deform the tail geometry. So what we're going to do today on this part two is we're going to create our damp track chain. So let's start by first selecting all these bones, and we're going to press M, and we're going to put our deformation bones in a new collection. So click on new collection, and we're going to call this def for deformation. So we're going to create that, and as you can see over here on the right, under the running man, which is the rig property, the rig data stuff, we have our DEF collection, and our other bone is still in this one. So we're going to call this one root. All right, so now let's select these. We're going to duplicate these. So right now we're in pose mode. We can't duplicate. So press tab, and now we'll be in edit mode, and we can hold shift and press D to duplicate the bones. Now when they're moving around like this, just right click and they'll drop back down. But on the top here you can see it says DEF01.001. That's our duplicated bones. So what we're going to do here is, while they're all selected, we're going to hit Control F2, and we're going to change the name. We're going to batch rename all four of the bones at the same time. So switch the objects here to bones so that it knows to change the names of bones, and we're going to change DEF to damp, and then just click OK. And as you can see, it still says 0.001, and we want to get rid of that, so Control F2 again, 0.001, and we're going to remove that and replace it with nothing. So then click OK, and now it's damp 01, damp 02, damp 03, and damp 04. All right, so what we're going to do here is first we're going to hide the DEF bones. Oops. First, select all your damp bones, and we're going to move them into a collection called damp. So just click on each bone that you want to move, and press M, and you should be able to find the list of all your collections on the right here. So make sure not to move the DEF bones into the damp, just to keep it organized. So now we can hide our DEF bones, and we're going to make our damp track chain now. So let's start by adding a new bone at the end here. Press E and press Y so that it goes straight. Press F2 to rename. This one, we're going to name it damp tip. So now we can go into into pose mode. So Control Tab will bring up this radio menu, and we're going to go into pose mode. All right, so first we want to put a constraint on each of these bones following the bone above it, so, or below it technically. So this bone will be following this bone, this bone will be following this bone, this bone will be following this bone, and this bone will be following this bone. We're not putting a constraint on this because this is our controlling bone, our root bone. So let's get started. Select the bone you want targeted, then the bone that you want the constraint on. Press Control Shift C, and we're going to add a damped track. So the damp track is on this bone, and it's going to be pointing at this bone. So wherever this bone moves, this bone will rotate from here and try to follow it without moving from this spot. But the tail, this is called the tail, will be like trying to follow this bone. Another way you can do this is by selecting the bone here, and this bone with the circle over it is the bone constraints. You can add a damp track here, and then you can take from the little sample thing here, choose the armature, and then choose the bone that you want targeted. I think it's easier to do the hotkey method, so we'll do that again. So first the bone you want targeted, Then the bone you want the constraint on, Control Shift C, damp track. Bone you want targeted, bone you want the constraint on, Control Shift C, damp track. Alright, and lastly we're going to go through each of these bones and we're going to reduce the influence on it just a tad to 0.8 so that it's pretty floppy. Oops. You can't go above 1, so it's either 0 to 1, as in it's either not following it or it is 100% following it. So we want a little bit of a drag here. Alright, so here now we have a damp track. Oh, this should be parented to that. So go into edit mode, click on your damp 1, and click on your root bone, and click press Control P to bring up this make parent option here, and we're going to keep offset. So now if I rotate, you can see that we have a wiggly tail. The only problem is the mesh is not following our wiggly tail here. So that's the next step. If you moved it, it's probably going to be kind of crooked. If you just hold Alt and tap R a bunch of times, it'll slowly move back into place. We're going to talk about how to fix that in another part, but for now we're going to just do we're going to connect the deformation bones to the damp track bones. So turn on your deformation bones. Start by selecting your damp track bone, which is the bone you want to target, and hold Shift and click again, and you'll have your deformation bone selected underneath. They'll be selected together. Control Shift C, and we're going to choose Copy Transforms, which makes the bone that has the copy transforms follow the rotation, scale, and location of the bone it's targeting. So whatever that bone does, the bone that has the constraint, the copy transforms constraint, will do the exact same thing. So we'll go to the next one. Select your damp bone while holding Shift. Add the deformation bone to the selection. Control Shift C, copy transform. Damp is the bone we want to target. Control and hold Shift. Add deformation 2 to the selection. Control Shift C, copy transform. Same thing at the end here. Alright, so when we look over here at our bone constraints, you can see the deformation 01 has copy transforms, damp has damp track. So make sure that you have the right transforms on the right bones. Deformation should have copy transforms only, and damp track should have damp track. So in here we're going to go ahead and do some tidying on the deformation copy transform constraints. We're going to rename them to damp, so that way we know that this copy transform is like attached to the damp bone. So go ahead and rename them all accordingly. They're all going to have the same name. So this is just to make it clear in the next part. And now, if you test your root bone, you can see that the deformation bones are following the damp track chain. So yeah, that's it for part 2.